Once upon a time, in the ancient kingdom of Hastinapur, there ruled a noble king named Shantonu of the Chandravansha dynasty. He was a powerful ruler and a just man, but one day, as he hunted along the serene banks of the Ganga river, his life would change forever. Through the mist rising off the river, he caught sight of a woman whose beauty seemed otherworldly. She moved gracefully, her skin gleaming like moonlight on water, her eyes deep as the river's depths. Shantanu felt his heart skip. A beauty so ethereal had to be divine. Indeed, she was the goddess Ganga herself, come down to earth in human form. Mesmerized and entranced, Shantanu approached her, every step taken with reverence. He couldn't resist her presence and, almost breathlessly, asked for her hand in marriage. Ganga smiled gently but set a condition that seemed puzzling yet simple. Shantanu must never question her actions or interfere with her choices, no matter what. If he did, she would leave him forever. Though the demand was strange, Shantanu was helpless in his passion and agreed, thinking nothing could ever come between them. They married soon after, and the people of Hastinapur celebrated with boundless joy, their beloved king now with a queen of unimaginable beauty. In time, Ganga became pregnant, and the kingdom prepared to welcome its future heir. Shantanu was overjoyed, but his joy quickly turned to confusion and horror. When their first child was born, a perfect, innocent baby boy, Shantanu felt a deep pride as a father. But the very next morning, he saw Ganga cradling the baby, heading down to the river alone. Curious and confused, he quietly followed her. He watched, hidden among the trees, as Ganga stepped into the river, her hands still holding their child. Before he could understand what was happening, she let go, submerging the baby in the water until the river swallowed him completely. Shantanu felt his heart shatter. He wanted to scream, to run to her, to demand why she would do such a thing. But then he remembered her condition. He was bound by his promise, and so he said nothing. His silence cost him dearly as he watched his wife, expressionless, return alone from the river. Days turned to months, and then, Ganga bore another son. Shantanu hoped desperately that this time would be different. Yet, as before, Ganga walked to the river with the newborn, and again, she drowned their child in the cold, unyielding waters. With each passing birth, Shantanu's hope crumbled further, replaced by a silent agony. Every time, he watched helplessly, feeling the weight of his vow, a father's grief silently etched into his heart. 7 times, Ganga bore him a child. 7 times, she walked down to the river. And each time, she took their child's life. The people of Hastinapur grew restless, whispering among themselves, wondering why the queen would do such a thing. Ministers began voicing their concerns. What kind of curse had befallen their king that no heir remained? Yet still, Shantanu kept his silence, each loss wounding him deeper. But when Ganga bore their 8th child, something in Shantanu had changed. He could no longer bear the sight of his children disappearing, one by one, into the dark river. He was a father first, a man whose heart had reached its breaking point. As Ganga held their final son and began walking towards the river, Shantanu, with anguish in his voice, called out to her. "Stop, Ganga," he pleaded, his voice choked with desperation. "Why must you do this? Why must our children die before they have a chance to live?" For a moment, Ganga stood still, looking at Shantanu. Then, with a look of sorrow mixed with a strange peace, she revealed the truth. She told him that both of them were bound by a curse from a previous life. She was once the celestial daughter of Brahma, and Shantanu, in his previous birth, had been a powerful king named Mahabharata. Their fates had intertwined long ago. Ganga spoke of the day in Brahma's court, where they had met for the first time. She, a divine river goddess, had attracted the attention of all, including Mahabharata. When a gust of wind loosened her clothing, everyone present respectfully turned away, except Mahabharata. His gaze lingered, admiring her beauty, while she, noticing his interest, did not look away either. But their silent exchange infuriated Brahma, who cursed them both to be born as mortals. Ganga's fate was sealed, to bring Mahabharata to earth and cause him deep sorrow. But there was more to the story. The children she bore, Ganga explained, were not ordinary mortals. They were the 8 Vasus, celestial beings who had also been cursed by sage Vashishta to live mortal lives as punishment. Yet the sage had softened their curse, allowing them to return to their celestial forms immediately after birth. By drowning them, Ganga had freed the Vasus from their mortal existence. Only the 8th child had a different fate. His curse was to live a long, mortal life. He would be known for his unmatched wisdom, courage, and loyalty, a warrior like no other. His name, Ganga said, would be Devavrata, but in time, he would come to be known as Bhishma, the guardian of the Kuru dynasty. With her story finished, Ganga looked upon Shantonu one last time. She took Devavrata with her, saying she would raise him until he was ready to return. Then, as silently as she had come into his life, Ganga disappeared into the river, leaving Shantanu standing alone, his heart hollow with loss. For years afterward, Shantanu remained a broken man, his heart aching for the family he had never known. In his sorrow, he turned to a life of solitude and devotion. But his legacy lived on, for his son, Devavrata, Bhishma, would one day become one of the most revered figures in the Mahabharata, a warrior whose loyalty, strength, and wisdom would shape the future of Hastinapur.